So evidently my signal got interrupted, I guess. Sorry about that. We'll do that over again. Okay, sorry about that. Let's talk about this. Okay, here we go. Hurricane Irma. Sorry about the signal loss. Let's talk the impacts and also where this thing is going. The latest advisory as of 1 o'clock has Irma as a Category 3 storm, 125 mile per hour winds. It is still very well organized. It still looks very good on the satellite presentation. This is infrared satellite, which means we can see how cold or warm the clouds are. And that's important because the deeper red here means the colder cloud tops are starting to congeal around the center, and that means that we have elevation, we have lift, we have stronger storms in the middle of the hurricane. That means that it's still mature, it's still forming into a pretty good sized storm. So right now, the eye is just to the north of some of these barrier islands around Cuba, okay? But it's also interacting with the landmass, which is kind of cutting off some of the warm, moist air that it needs to feed and grow. So that's some good news, and that's why it was downgraded to a Category 3 storm. Still very strong, though. Outer rain band starting to move into South Florida. We saw this very early this morning, and now they've got gusty winds, too. They've got power outages as well. About 14,000 people without power right now in South Florida. So we're already starting to see some of the impacts from Irma in South Florida. Now, let's talk about the track. And that's the most important thing, because it's changed here over the last several hours. So let's talk about the track. Right now, max winds of 125. It's sitting basically right along the Cuban coast. Pressure has gone up, which means it's not as strong as it was earlier. And also the movement, west at 9 miles per hour, it's slowed down, and it also hasn't made that northwesterly turn yet. It's still going on a western trajectory, and as long as it keeps going on that western trajectory, the Gulf of Mexico's in play, because we're waiting for that turn to go up to the north. If we never get that turn, if it delays, if it stalls out a little bit longer than what the National Hurricane Center is forecasting, then if it keeps on going along the Cuban coast and then makes that turn, guess what? Guess where it's going? Into the Gulf of Mexico. That's when we can start to see some problems, okay? So let's talk about the exact track. National Hurricane Center has it making landfall as a Category 4 storm Sunday morning, 8 o'clock near Key West. 140 mile per hour winds, 8 o'clock in the morning, that's the brunt of it. Marathon, Key West. They're going to see the worst of it. Then it moves north, another landfall near Fort Myers. And we'll call this Sunday mid-afternoon, mid to late afternoon, 4 or 5 o'clock, depending on the forward speed and all that. Okay? Still a Category 4 storm, because it doesn't go over any land, so it's going to maintain and maybe even strengthen before it makes landfall somewhere near Fort Myers, Port Charlotte, Naples is down south here. So all of that is in play. All of Southwest Florida is in play because of the track now off the coast. East side of the storm, always the worst. Let's move this mouse over here. Then it moves into the Tampa Bay area. We're going to call this Monday morning, 2 a.m. Okay? 2 a.m. around the Tampa area. And I know Tampa's in the wrong spot. It should be up here somewhere. So Tampa, Orlando, Gainesville, Ocala, anywhere in the southern part of the state, Kissimmee, the theme parks, more importantly, shut down by tomorrow. My dad actually works at Disney. He says they're shut down tomorrow and Monday. By Monday, early morning, 2 a.m., that's when they start to feel the brunt of it. Hurricane force winds, 100 mile per hour. We're talking Category 3 storm most likely because it'll be moving over land, be interrupting that flow. So folks in the Tampa Bay area, St. Pete, they're going to be under the gun. And folks that are just logging on to Facebook Live right now, I'm going to answer any questions about Alabama's impacts in just a little bit, okay? So I'll get to everybody, and I'll kind of give a broad overview, okay? The impacts are not going to be bad here in central Alabama, okay? I'm not going to be able to answer everyone's question about what about my town, but what I can do is give you a general broad overview of what you can expect on late Monday into Tuesday, and that's when I think our weather starts to get a little bit I'm not going to call it rough, but it might get rough for some people. The winds especially could be a little brisk. So we'll talk about that in a second. So if you've got a question about your exact location, just hold tight. I will answer kind of a broad overview about the entire forecast for central Alabama come Monday night into Tuesday, okay? But I want to get to some of this stuff first because we have evacuees from Florida who are watching this stream right now who are wondering what's going to happen where I live. So I want to answer those questions first because they're the most important, okay? So by Monday mid-morning, 3 o'clock, Cedar Key, Category 3 storm, 115 mile per hour winds, okay? More wind, more rain. The entire state of Florida could see anywhere from 8 to 12 inches of rain, okay, from Saturday late, so late tonight into Monday morning, okay? So still, it goes over a fair chunk of land, but you still see it maintains that Category 3 status with winds of 115 miles per hour, and that's just near the center, okay? So from the eye wall out to about 30 miles is where you're going to find those winds of 115 miles per hour. Anything outside that from about 70 miles out, you'll see winds of 70 to 80, 90 miles per hour. So still, nothing to sneeze at, okay? Let's step forward in time here as we go into Monday afternoon into Tuesday. Look how much ground it makes up. So it starts out north central Florida on Monday morning. It gets all the way up into northeast Alabama by Tuesday, okay? But note the difference, okay? We're talking about a Category 3 hurricane on Monday morning, but then we're talking about just an area of low pressure on Tuesday morning, okay? The bigger takeaway here is that it's still going to be a structure that is going to produce a lot of rainfall and a lot of wind. That's for folks in central Alabama. And then it kind of moves to the north and peters out. By Wednesday, we won't have to worry about it. It won't be a big deal at all. The main thing to remember for folks in Alabama is this. Everything bad about a hurricane, okay? The strongest winds, the biggest threat for tornadoes, and the biggest storm surge is always on the right-hand side of a storm. Always on the east side, depending on the motion, okay? Our storms normally, it's either going to be, if the storm's moving east to west, it's going to be on the north side. If it's moving north to south, it's going to be on the east side. So the worst part of a storm is always on the east side. Where are we? We're on the west side of the storm. So the impacts here, we'll be feeling it, but we won't feel it as much as folks in, say, Augusta, Georgia, or even Savannah, or places like Macon, places like that are going to get stronger winds, also more rain. Well, let's pinpoint exactly how large the hurricane force winds are in this storm. And it's pretty big. About 70 miles or so, we've got hurricane force winds that extend from the center of the storm. Okay? So here's the hurricane force winds right here in this red circle. Here are the tropical storm force winds. We're talking 200 miles or more in any direction from the center. That's the hurricane force winds. Okay? So hurricane force winds in the red, tropical storm force winds in the yellow. We'll step it through time here. That's Sunday morning. Key West, Southwest Florida, hurricane force winds, Sunday morning, 6:30. Then you see most of the southern third of Florida, the peninsula, with tropical storm force winds, which means 40 to 50 miles per hour, maybe even higher. This is the worst possible scenario for folks from Naples up to Port Charlotte, Sarasota, Manatee, Fort Myers. Hurricane force winds, 5:15 in the afternoon tomorrow. So we're talking 28 hours from now. They get hurricane force winds, most likely will be in excess of 130 miles per hour, right near the center. If there's any saving grace, it's that the coast is going to be basically either bisected by the eye or on the left side. So the storm surge won't be as massive, but still, once it moves in, as it continues to move in, basically the storm surge is going to be really bad here, okay? Extreme southwest Florida. Flooding will be unbelievable. Hurricane force winds right in the middle of Tampa Bay, Monday morning, 1:15, 2 o'clock in the morning, okay? I have family here. I've got family and friends all throughout this area here. And I'm hoping that things change and that they stay out of harm's way. So we'll see. But my family is well prepared. Then the hurricane winds, force winds go away. What that means is the strongest core of the winds. We're talking 100 plus mile per hour winds, gone. Everybody in this yellow area, tropical storm force winds. You see how far it extends? All the way from Lake Okeechobee, you know where that is, just north of Miami, to Macon. Okay? 500 miles, 400 miles, give or take, and it starts to elongate. The structure starts to elongate. So what happens when a tropical system loses some of its tropical characteristics? It doesn't look like that typical buzzsaw hurricane that we saw out in the Atlantic. Irma will turn into just a mass, kind of a swirl of big clouds, but still pretty strong. And then it moves to the north. It will decrease in size. As it moves north and loses its punch, it will decrease in size. The power outages. That's going to be the main story for a lot of folks in the Florida Peninsula. Storm surge basically along the coast from Port Charlotte down to Miami. But power outages, winds, going to be strong. So take a look at this. High risk of power outages all throughout South Florida and Central Florida. Okay? And these power outages, and that's 9:30 at night on Sunday. So we could be talking about the entire southern half of Florida with widespread power outages. And these aren't going to be your power outage comes back on in 2 hours. This is going to be long duration. A few days, maybe a week or more. Folks in South Florida know this because of Hurricane Wilma back in 2005. My in-laws and my wife, they lost power for 2 weeks from Wilma. And Wilma probably not as strong as Irma is going to be when it makes landfall. Okay? Then this is what starts to get us a little bit worried. You see those power outages start to creep up into South Georgia? That's that wind. The wind is going to be pretty heavy in South Georgia, maybe gusting to hurricane force. We'll see winds of 50 to 60 miles per hour sustained in North Florida in the Panhandle. And then you start to get into Georgia and you see those power outages pop up. And then look what happens by Tuesday afternoon, okay? Tuesday morning, I should say. So what did I say about the west or east side of the storm? So the track is basically like this, right? So the track going here, right through southwest Georgia and into northeast Alabama, okay? Where are all the major power outages? East side of the storm, the worst side of the storm. They have the worst winds, the strongest winds, okay? So there's a chance that some of us could lose power. However, I think that chance is going to be confined to people in Georgia, okay? The major impacts for folks in the Deep South north of Florida are going to be in Georgia, okay? Central and eastern Georgia, maybe into South Carolina, but I think they're going to dodge a bullet. How about specifics? Let's talk about specifics for central Alabama. By 4, 5, 6 o'clock on Monday, we've got rain. But you see where the strongest stuff is. These areas of yellow, that's where we could see some storms in Georgia. We will see some winds. 20 to 30 mile per hour winds are possible starting Monday afternoon into the evening. We could see gusts as high as 40 miles per hour or 50 miles per hour, okay? Those will be gusts. Those will be those quick gusts. And this isn't going to be a thunderstorm. These aren't going to be thunderstorms. These are going to be just rain bands that move in, and with the area of low pressure that we'll have, most likely centered around here, it's going to create what we call a gradient in the atmosphere. Basically, you'll have high pressure here, low pressure here, and in the middle you squeeze. When you get that squeeze, you get a lot of wind. And that's what we'll have. We'll have a lot of wind. So this isn't going to be from severe thunderstorms. This is going to be just from what's left of Irma. Here's Tuesday morning. Start to see Irma move north, kind of curve around. Start to see the backside of the rain move in. And you see it's not really that heavy. We'll see some heavy rain at times. These tropical downpours are very steady and light and moderate rain, unless you're right in the middle of this storm, but we're not going to be. And then Tuesday night, rain starts to move out, and things dry up pretty quickly. maybe some lingering showers. Okay, maybe lingering showers Wednesday and Thursday, but I think most of the rain will be done by Tuesday. So note the hazards. Rain and wind starting Monday. 2 to 3 inches of rain between Monday, Tuesday, maybe Wednesday morning, but I think most of our rain is done by Tuesday night. 20 to 30 mile per hour winds are possible, okay, with some higher gusts, 40 to 45 to 50 miles per hour. That means that if you do get a decent amount of rain, especially in East Alabama, that's got the highest chance for rain, East Alabama, east of 65. If you get some rain and you get some wind gusts, you've got some old trees, maybe big trees in your yard, might want to think about cutting some limbs down because those trees could come down, okay? It's not likely, but it's possible. It's not a certainty that the winds will knock these trees over, but it's possible, okay? So that's basically our hazards. You know, here in central Alabama, and this goes for everybody. So if you're in Coleman or Talladega or Tuscaloosa or Chilton County or Coosa County, it doesn't matter where you are. If you watch CBS 42 on a regular basis on your TV, if you're in central Alabama, okay, this is what you can expect. You can expect rain and wind starting Monday night. 2 to 3 inches of rain between Monday night and Tuesday, and then maybe a few showers on Wednesday. 20 to 30 mile per hour winds are possible, with gusts higher to 40 to 45 miles per hour. That's what you can expect, widespread throughout much of central Alabama. I do think, though, West Alabama won't see as widespread impacts, okay? So that's kind of the deal. That's what we've got, okay? So I appreciate everyone watching, and if you have any questions, send them to me. I know I covered a lot of ground there, but with all of these updates, this is basically changing by the hour for us. So we're going to do these updates when these long-form updates, when the major advisories come out, and the next one will be 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So the next time you see me standing on Facebook Live and jabbering for 20 minutes is going to be around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So I want you guys to be aware of that. We'll send a push alert out on our CBS 42 mobile app. Download the weather app as well. We'll have this video posted on the weather app, so if you want to go back and watch it, you can. And of course, you can watch it on Facebook, and I'll try to update all of the pertinent information on the website as I can. But like I said, things coming in fast and furious. So keep it tuned right here. No 6 o'clock news tonight. Alabama's playing at 2:30. I'm sure you guys will be watching that game along with everybody else. Clemson and Auburn, they play at 6. So no 6 o'clock news for us tonight. We'll see you on TV at 10. Our next long Facebook update will be right around 4:15 or so when I get the update, get the digest the information. But be looking for a lot more coverage that you can count on Hurricane Irma coming up in the next several hours. We'll see you then, guys.